One day, an incredible event took place in Kenya. Kenneth Ole Nashu, an experienced ranger, and his team were on their usual patrol in Amboseli National Park near the Tanzanian border. Their primary responsibility was to monitor the elephant population living in the park and protect these magnificent creatures from poachers. As the rangers approached a herd of around 40 elephants, they soon received exciting news. A female elephant named Paru was pregnant. The team was thrilled at the prospect of a new elephant calf being born. However, things were not as simple as they seemed. An elephant's pregnancy lasts approximately 22 months, that is, almost 2 years. Since Amboseli National Park is a natural habitat, the park's veterinarians couldn't directly examine Paru. Instead, they had to observe her from a distance and record any changes in her behavior. Any unusual signs or behaviors were immediately noted and necessary precautions were taken. As time passed, concerning changes began to appear in Paru's behavior. Most notably, she started distancing herself from her herd, including her own calf. While this behavior alone wasn't entirely unusual, what truly raised concerns was that Paru began showing signs of bleeding. Within a few days, the rangers noticed she was losing a significant amount of blood, sparking fears that she might suffer a miscarriage. For an elephant of Paru's age, this could pose a serious, life-threatening risk. During this time, the conservation team closely monitored Paru's every move. One morning, Kenneth noticed a group of elephants behaving unusually restless from a distance. Their actions indicated that something was seriously wrong. Gathered in a particular area, the herd was stomping their feet forcefully against the ground, an alarming sight. Sensing that something was amiss, Kenneth drove his jeep toward the commotion. As the vehicle's sound reached them, the elephants turned their heads toward him. At that moment, Kenneth spotted Paru lying on the ground behind the herd. She was breathing heavily and struggling. It was clear that something was very wrong, and every second was crucial. Kenneth immediately called for veterinary assistance to examine Paru up close. However, knowing that the elephants might become aggressive out of protective instincts, he remained in his jeep, trying to keep the herd calm. If Paru was indeed injured, the other elephants' reaction could escalate the danger. When the veterinary team finally arrived, they carefully began examining Paru. A young veterinarian ran his hand over her thick, rough skin, checking for any abnormalities. Everyone held their breath, waiting for good news about Paru's health. Upon measuring Paru's heartbeat, the vet noted that her pulse was stable, and at first glance her breathing appeared normal. The elephant herd had formed a circle around her, watching the humans intently and anxiously. Suddenly, Paru let out a loud, agonized trumpet sound. Believing that one of their own was being harmed, the elephants became aggressive, plunging the situation into chaos. The team had to retreat momentarily for their safety. Fortunately, the elephants hesitated, seemingly realizing that the humans meant no harm. As the team carefully observed the situation, they continued Paru's treatment cautiously to avoid losing the herd's trust. The veterinarian slowly carried blood samples and other specimens to the truck to analyze for any imbalances, nutritional deficiencies, or signs of illness. They needed to understand how Paru's body was responding throughout her pregnancy. Dehydration and the risk of blood clotting were also major concerns. Due to these risks, Paru was given IV fluids and necessary medications were administered. Kenneth coordinated the operation, giving instructions to the veterinary team. The situation was becoming increasingly serious. Everyone's shared goal was to ensure Paru and her unborn calf survived. Through meticulous overnight care, Paru gradually regained consciousness. Fortunately, initial tests showed no signs of a fatal illness. However, the root cause of her distress remained unknown, and this uncertainty gnawed at Kenneth. He was so worried that he chose to sleep in his jeep that night, unwilling to leave Paru alone. He only dozed off for a few minutes at a time, instantly waking up whenever the herd stirred, ready to follow their movements with his vehicle. Over the following week, Kenneth and his colleagues took shifts watching Paru. A young veterinary trainee named Aziz occasionally joined them whenever needed. Finally, the big day arrived. Paru was about to give birth. That night, Kenneth was on duty, waiting in his jeep alongside Aziz. Unlike Kenneth, who had unknowingly drifted off to sleep, Aziz remained wide awake, keeping his eyes fixed on the herd. He knew that elephants often gave birth at night, so he stayed vigilant. As the jeep's headlights cast a dim glow over the area, Aziz used his binoculars to observe Paru. Suddenly he noticed her shifting restlessly and getting to her feet. Excitedly, he nudged Kenneth lightly. "Boss, I think it's time," he whispered. Kenneth immediately jolted awake and grabbed his binoculars. "Good catch," he said with a smile. The entire team held their breath as they watched the birth unfold. And soon the miraculous moment arrived. First, the calf's head appeared, followed by its legs. Aziz, witnessing an elephant birth for the first time, was filled with awe and amazement. Everything was over within half an hour. But the excitement wasn't over yet. Just as Kenneth radioed the base camp with the joyous news, "Great news! Peru's baby is here," he suddenly noticed another tiny elephant head emerging. His jaw dropped in disbelief. It turned out Peru wasn't having just one baby, she was giving birth to twins. Elephants usually give birth to a single calf, and twin births are incredibly rare, often considered nearly impossible. This is because a single baby already requires an enormous amount of energy, nutrients, and water during the 22-month pregnancy. Carrying and sustaining two calves simultaneously places immense strain on the mother's body, significantly reducing survival chances for both her and the babies. This is why twin elephant births are seen as extraordinary and highly risky in the wild. Despite his decades of experience, Kenneth had never witnessed twin elephant births before. In fact, the last time such an event was recorded in Amboseli National Park was nearly 40 years ago. The team was overjoyed that both Peru and her calves were healthy. But their joy was short-lived. Aziz, peering through his binoculars, suddenly asked with concern, "Boss, is this bleeding normal?" One of the calves was bleeding, signaling a serious complication. The excitement and happiness instantly gave way to worry. Kenneth carefully adjusted his binoculars and realized Aziz was right. One of the twins had a significant amount of blood on its back. It had likely been injured during or immediately after birth, which was a serious concern. As the hours passed, the situation became increasingly critical. By dawn, Kenneth decided to call the veterinary team urgently. The team swiftly examined and treated the baby elephant. Peru, as if sensing the ranger's good intentions, allowed them to check her newborns. Her eyes reflected a mix of helplessness and trust. Fortunately, the veterinary team managed to clean and treat the wound, stabilizing the calf's condition. The mother and her twins were kept under close observation for a while. Over time, the injured calf fully recovered. After weeks of meticulous care and observation, Peru and her twins grew stronger. The calf's wound had completely healed, and it was now moving safely alongside its mother. Kenneth and his team felt an immense sense of pride in saving another elephant's life, while witnessing one of nature's greatest miracles. The healthy growth of the twins was a testament to their dedication and perseverance. In the vast, endless plains of Amboseli, a life had been saved and a new hope had been gifted to nature. Please don't forget to like the video, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to the channel.